It's simple, really. Great stories with a good cup of tea. It's the Tea with Mike show. Tea with Mike fans, on this episode, we welcome to the show Clayton, and we talked about his work in spreading awareness for the disabled community. The theme of the episode was inclusion, and come hear another cool tea fact. Alright guys, welcome to another episode of the Tea with Mike show. Super excited for this one. Joining me for this episode is Clayton. Welcome to Tea with Mike, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
No worries. So let's just jump in. Do you want to start by telling everyone a little bit about you?
All right. Well, I'm from Oakville, Ontario, Canada, just for those wondering. 27 years old. I'm diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Huge into sports, music, and I run a blog called Cognizant Clay, which is for disability awareness. I interview people about their causes and about their disabilities, and just, raising awareness means a lot to me. So it's been a lot of fun. It's a little stressful at times, but it's all worth it in the end, for sure.
Awesome. Let's do some reverse psychology. Why is it a little bit stressful?
Just a lot of weeks it's hard. Like some weeks you get like 10 people that are interested, and then others it's really slow. Like sometimes, like this week, for example, it took me a few tries at a few people to get them to reply. I think, even though it is quarantine, a lot of people are busy, and it's sometimes some weeks are just a little hard to get guests, but most of the time it's pretty straightforward.
Awesome, man. So do you want to tell people on a little bit more of a broader scale about what the community that you're creating and the message and kind of the purpose behind it?
Well, I think the community itself is just like basically disabilities of any kind, whether it's physical, an invisible disability like, say, colitis or irritable bowel syndrome, or maybe PTSD, maybe some of the mental illnesses. And my goal is just to get positivity out there and show people that, disabled people are no different than everybody else. We just have challenges that are maybe a little more at the forefront than some people. Like you, for example, you're able-bodied, but I'm sure you have challenges sometimes too.
Definitely,
and
definitely,
it happens.
To learn how to tie my shoes, and I have ADHD and dyslexia. Yeah, so I definitely have lots of challenges of my own.
Exactly, and that's just, I just want to show people, everybody has something, and a lot more people than you think are disabled, whether it's invisible or visible. And my community's small right now, but it's growing slowly but surely. And I'm happy. I'm trying to do it openly and honestly and just showcase people's stories. And it's like I said, it's been a lot of fun.
So also, then, so what sort of mediums? So when you're interviewing people, you do it on video?
Yeah, I usually do it over Skype or Zoom, whatever's easier for the person. I find the quality is about the same across both, so it's a video interview, and then I post it to YouTube after.
Have you considered building a website for what you're doing?
Yes, I do have a Cognizant Clay domain, and I'm just waiting. It's a GoDaddy domain, and you have to wait 60 days to link it to a website. So in about 2 weeks, that'll be live.
Also, and then why did you decide to call it Cognizant Clay? I think I get the last part, but Cognizant. Why Cognizant?
Cognizant was a synonym, or is, I shouldn't say is a synonym for awareness. So I figured keep it the same letter as my first name and just Cognizant Clay. I thought it sounded good, and people were saying it's a good name, so I stuck with it.
You remember too.
Exactly. It's not really a common word, so I figured get a little fancy with it, and there you go.
Awesome. So what types of people are following the community so far?
Actually, Rick Mercer's following me on Instagram.
That's gnarly, dude. Good job.
That's a pretty big one. I did the interview with him and I asked him, I said, I would really appreciate it if you followed me. And it took a few weeks. And then one day I saw him and that's a big one. There's a few, Garrison Red, he's very big in the disabled community. He's from New York and he follows me. He does a lot of inclusion in the workplace. Other than that, not really too many yet, but it's growing. I think I have 142 as of this morning.
You know what Gary Vee would tell you, 142 is better than 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth, right, man?
Exactly.
Awesome. And then so obviously you're growing this community. As someone who's a leader in that community, what is that, I guess, responsibility teaching you on your journey?
I think it's teaching me a lot of it's patience. I'm not going to lie. I'm not the most patient person in the world, but it's, you learn to just take things slowly and really in this community, it's all about spreading it positively. And like at 27, I know how to be positive, but a lot of people I think struggle on a daily basis. And it's just taught me to also not worry about how many people are following me. Like just go for it and publish your videos. It doesn't matter how many people see it, as long as you're doing it in a good way, then the results will come. And a lot of it, like I want to teach a lot of the young people with disabilities that, you have your whole life in front of you, and just because you're disabled doesn't mean you can't pursue your dreams and do what you want to do.
Oh, yeah. Awesome, man. And then that again goes back to 1 is better than 0. So how many people have you interviewed on your show so far?
I've interviewed 17 and I've published 16 of them. I publish every Tuesday and Friday. I figured like Fridays, a lot of people are on and Mondays are a little slow. So I picked Tuesday. And I think 2 a week is perfect. And I always have 1 or 2 in the bank just to make sure I have something to publish.
Last minute, yeah.
Exactly. And I hate doing things last minute. So
awesome. Let's see. Where do I want to go next? Yeah. So of the people that you've interviewed on your shows so far, what have been some of the highlights that have kind of stood out for you?
Definitely
themes or messages, any of that sort of thing.
Themes or messages. That's a good one. I think like I was saying, the inclusion part it has been a main theme. Just like I've had able-bodied people on there that are big supporters of the disabled community, like Rick Mercer, completely able-bodied, Canadian icon, and he built his cottage in Newfoundland completely accessible. And that inclusion part really stuck with me because not many able-bodied people really understand, like, anybody can become disabled. I know a lot of people that were star athletes that became paralyzed and they never planned on being disabled. Nobody does. But his whole point was, if my cottage is accessible, I don't know if I'll meet a friend that's disabled or if I become old and I can't walk anymore, whatever it is. And
tomorrow, or it's totally possible.
Exactly. And Garrison Red as well, I'll go back to him, he's from New York, and he shares this major message that, you should include disabled people in your workplace because it's so hard for us to find jobs because people just assume, oh, you can't do that job. Well, it really depends on your disability. And he shares this statistic that you're actually more likely to get a job if you have a criminal record than if you're disabled. And that just, to me, is unacceptable because, it's really living on disability is not easy. You barely have enough money to get by each day. And I'm lucky. I live in a building that March of Dimes runs, and it's called geared to income. So a certain percentage of what I make from the government goes towards housing, and they help you pay for it. So I'm pretty lucky, but I know a lot of people that don't qualify and then they get screwed over because they can't work, and it's really sad.
Yeah, actually, you raised several good points in the sense that it's a broken system.
Yeah, it really is, and it is changing. It is getting better. It's a lot better than it used to be, but I think there's still a lot of room for improvement for sure, especially with COVID going on. It's almost like old people and disabled people are on the back burner right now, and it just shouldn't be that way, but it is what it is, and there's nothing really to do but raise the awareness, and that's a lot of the reason why I'm doing this as well, to get those issues out there and get them solved as quick as we can.
In a positive manner that is best for everybody, right? I'm sure we're not talking about protests and stuff, but I'm sure the awareness can take on lots of different forms, like workshops and getting more able-bodied people involved through volunteering and that sort of thing.
Exactly, and writing letters. A lot of people think, oh, writing letters to the government won't do anything. Yes, they do. They get seen, and they try their best to fix that issue. Last year here in Oakville, the GO station elevator was down for 60 days without it. They didn't fix it, and we wrote to our MPP, actually, member of provincial parliament, and said, like, this is unacceptable. Like, if there's women with strollers, there's people in wheelchairs, there's old men and women with walkers that need that elevator. They can't get up the stairs. And eventually, we almost went down the route of taking civil action, because that's unacceptable. That's 2 months. Like, it's crazy. But as soon as we complained, they had free shuttles to the 2 closest GO stations so that people could get on the train and go to where they need to go without paying extra for having to go one stop and get off, right? And it was very, and the message got through, and sure enough, it worked, and now it's fixed.
Awesome. So we'll get back to this important topic in a minute, but I guess my question to you on a personal level is, how do you stay motivated with all the challenges that you have in your life?
Well, a lot of it for me personally is just focusing on what you can do and what you can control, because as soon as you start dwelling on what you can't control, it's, to me, pointless, because you can't control that. Like Gary Vee always says, don't worry about the past, don't worry about the issues you can't control, focus on yourself. And I'm grateful enough that I was raised by 2 very positive parents who always told me, you know what, yeah, you're disabled, but there's a lot you can do. And every day, like, I don't know if I'm speaking for a lot of the disabled community or not, but I honestly forget that I'm in a wheelchair. Like, obviously I know I am, but I don't let it get in the way. Like, I'm still able to have friendships, and and I may not be able to physically do things, but video games are another one that really helped me stay grounded, because all my friends are on my Xbox, and we even during quarantine, we've been talking every day through it. And I love sports. I'm able to play sports because of video games, and that is something that I'm really grateful for.
Also, so okay, so you've kind of touched on it. How important is it, I guess, to be positive, obviously about the challenges you have, but not also to be positive, but also to speak about it and I guess educate people at the same time, instead of going down the journey or the path that I guess maybe some people in the disabled community go, and that's the path of I don't matter, that sort of perspective.
Exactly. Yeah, and a lot of it, and that's really sad. Like, I'm sure even you, obviously you're agreeing with everything I'm saying, which is a good sign because you're empathetic and you do know how people feel in a lot of ways. Like you say, dyslexia and ADHD, those are challenges as well. So you can relate that, you know what? But a lot of people pity themselves and they say, you know what, I don't matter, but you do. Everybody matters. It doesn't matter what race you are, what disability you have or not, where you live. It's, you do matter. You're part of this global community that, and I think like social media can go both ways. Social media, a lot of people are very negative on there, and I stay away from that. And if somebody says a negative comment, well, I come back with positivity and tell them, you know what? I hope you have a good day because I'm not going to let this bother me. And I'll come back to Gary Vee. We're both big fans of him. And yeah, some people think he's abrasive. He swears a lot, whatever it is, but he's so positive.
Yes.
So positive all the time. And it seems like he never goes down the negative like train of thought, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like he just
100%. So I don't really, the first time that I became aware of you and all the things that you do was when I saw you on his show. So I wanted to ask you, how did you get on the show?
So he has a number. I don't have the number off by heart or anything, but I'm sure you went this path as well. As you text him and his team gets back to you. And, I texted him, I think it was April 6th that I was on. I texted him like March 30th or something. And within 5 days, he got back to me.
Okay, so you use the texting platform.
Yeah.
That's not how I did it.
Really?
No. So I text the platform on numerous occasions. I didn't get anywhere with it. So because it's the Tea with Gary Vee show, and I have the Tea with Mike show, lots of people brought my attention to his show through social media and Twitter. So I kind of devised a strategy. So I made a bunch of videos about tea and that sort of thing. And then I kept tweeting like tea facts at him and that sort of thing. And then people in my community like shared it and that sort of thing. And then I connected up with his team on Twitter, which I was doing before this show. But I kept talking to his team and stuff. And then eventually the pieces fell into place.
Oh, wow. Good for you. It's a little bit of a different path to take, but he's really active on Twitter. And I find if you tweet him enough times, he'll get back to you. And he doesn't mind spam. He doesn't care. As long as you're being positive to him, he's all for it. And I think that's very unique because a lot of people think, oh, why are you promoting yourself so much? Well, I don't have a problem with it as long as you're doing it positively. And if you're doing it positively, then all the power to you. Like if someone's getting annoyed, I think they're just jealous that you're able to stay so positive. That's what I think anyway.
Again, I like how I'm agreeing with all of your perspectives, but it is true. It's if you're always positive, then even when everything isn't necessarily going well, then you're almost unstoppable. It's kind of that weird kinetic energy.
Pretty much, and I think that's a very important point to make to people because it does take a lot of energy to stay positive. But if you can, then nothing's going to get to you. You're just going to always be not necessarily always happy, but always in that positive light where you realize, okay, this crappy time isn't going to last forever. If I can stay positive, then the sky's the limit, really.
And that leads straight into this question. So when you were younger and learning of strategies and ways to cope with your disabilities, were there any like strategies that you used apart from having positive parents to get you through some of the harder days?
I think a lot of it, like in my teen years, I was a little bit not, I would say, well, I would use the word depressed, but not depressed in the sense that, I had like diagnosed with depression, but I went through some hard times as all teenagers do, thinking, well, I'm not fitting in. And then I had an EA, educational assistant, that's what EA means, and he was from Liverpool, and he used a very uh not, I wouldn't say dark, but a witty and dry sense of humor. And it really made me think, you know what? Life may suck at times, but if you can have a good sense of humor through it, that really helps. So sense of humor helped me. Being a diehard sports fan, particularly the Leafs in hockey, really helped me. I think that gives you something to follow and be passionate about. And traveling would be the other one. Traveling was a very good coping mechanism. I can't travel very far anymore, but my mom decided, you know what, while you can, let's go somewhere. So my stepdad went on a motorcycle trip to the States, and he went to Arizona, New Mexico, Utah. There was a nice little town in Moab, Utah, and my parents took me there. And it's right on the Colorado River. There's Arches National Park there. So we went there 2 years in a row, and that really helped change my perspective as well. Because, seeing the world is very, very helpful. And I think those would be the main ones. So sense of humor, sports, and travel were my other three main coping mechanisms, if you will.
What's your favorite thing about sport?
I think my favorite thing about sports is the respect that a lot of athletes have for one another. Now, whether you win or lose, at the end of the day, you're all people and you're all equal. And someone may be better than you with skill, but sometimes a few things happen in the game that bounce your way. And just because a team's better on paper than you doesn't mean you can't beat them.
Exactly.
And I think the perspective really is my favorite part. Perspective and respect for your opponents.
Yeah, I'm a big sports fan too. Do you follow English Premier League?
Yes, I do. I'm a Liverpool fan because my EA was from there, and one of my best friends now, Tom, is also from Liverpool, and I got into soccer because of them, so I like them. But I also have this jersey on. This is Forge FC, and that's the Canadian Premier League, and I have seasons for them as well. So soccer is pretty dear to my heart.
Awesome. I'm a Manchester City fan.
I'm sure a lot of people judge you for that, but they're a good team, and mad respect.
They have a good team, but I also like to add, I've been to many games when I used to live in England. I used to support them and go to games and watch them a little bit on TV, like when they weren't as good, before their takeover and all that and stuff. Yeah. So I've seen many losses too. So.
Well, and Pep Guardiola, their manager, has my respect. That man was, I don't know if he's still there. I forget with all this shutdown. Yeah, okay. And he's been a very vital figure to modern football and
his style of play, yeah.
Yeah, tiki-taka, like he's just he knows his stuff. He really does, and I've always respected him. I may not like City that much, but I respect him.
That's fair. Cool, and then let's flip it back to Cognizant. So where do you want to take it as it continues to grow?
I think what I want to do is one of my main goals is get disabled people from as many countries as I can. Being multicultural is a major one to me. And just, keep the positivity and keep it growing for the better. I don't need the notoriety. What I want to do is share the stories of the disabled community and like I said before, teach people that we're no different and we're pretty amazing people as well, and everybody has the ability to succeed in life. And I think, I want it to grow as much as possible, but I don't want to rush it either. I want to do it properly and patiently, and just get as many people on there as I can. And that's about all I can say about it, really.
So you just you do it. So you just want to keep interviewing people and watch it grow. Those are the main ones. Cool. Do you have any, like, not ambitious, but like, well, I guess it's ambitious. Do you have any like super ambitious ideas with it too? I'll give you an example. So for the Tea with Mike show, for example, it would be cool one day like to open a tea shop, and people can come to the tea shop and tell stories. And the rule is you can spend very little time on your phone, because the focus is about talking to those around you.
That's a good one. I like that. And I wish you all the best with that. Ambitions, really, it's really hard to say, because, like I said, I don't want to rush it, but I think doing collaborations with some big people like a Rick Hansen, or maybe, like, rest in peace Stephen Hawking, but somebody like that's a prominent figure, to just do a collab with and sit down and talk with them. And I think there's a few really famous people that I'd like to interview that I've been trying to get. And one of them's Trevor Noah, because he does a lot of charity work. Ryan Reynolds was a major one. Again, Rick Hansen for sure. And even guys like Justin Bieber or John Cena that do a lot of work with Make-A-Wish, the children's foundation, because Make-A-Wish was very, very dear to my heart as a kid. I actually went to Arizona when I was in grade 8 to meet the Arizona Coyotes hockey team, because
that's cool.
Wayne Gretzky was the coach of the team, and I wanted to meet him. And unfortunately, I never got to meet him. But just stuff like that. I think collaborations are my major ambitions.
Also, sure. And then remind me, what question did you ask Gary Vee?
Gary Vee, I asked, how do you recommend I keep my interviews interesting and not the kind of cookie cutter journalism? And he basically said, just, and pardon my French, but left field shit is the term he used to say, just ask some really weird questions. Like, he goes, obviously keep your questions generally similar in every interview, but I have a segment called Rapid Fire, and that's my favorite part of it, to just ask people, say you're from Canada and you're from Saskatchewan. I'd ask you, who's your favorite person from Saskatchewan?
That's good, dude.
Or who's your favorite for you? Who's your favorite person from England, because that's where you were born, and just also with the people that I interview that are athletes, or anybody really, I ask them what a funny story is that they like to tell people, just to keep it lighthearted and not, boring. You know what I mean? Just keep it going. And Gary just told me, you know what, and be yourself. Don't shy away from who you are, because then people will realize you're fake, and fake it till you make it is just not true to me.
Great answer, man. And then I guess a tea fact for the episode is, if you don't like your pets being infected with fleas, then apparently you can use tea leaves and sprinkle them over their like bedding, and it's supposed to help repel fleas. And as I always quote my sources, it comes from coffee, Cantatat, CANTATA.com. Very interesting, eh?
Oh wow, that's I didn't know that. There you go. We're having a good conversation and learning all at once. I like it.
That's a win-win. And then, so as we kind of come towards the end of our conversation today, is there anything that you want to ask me?
Well, I wanted to ask, like, with your conversations, what do you like the best about it? What do you like best about the Tea with Mike show?
Sure, man. So there's two parts. One is learning about tea and the history, and like the tea fact that I just read. I would, if it wasn't for the Tea with Mike show, I wouldn't use my own Inquisition and my own time to go searching into Google to find things like that. So knowledge, like we were just alluding to, and then also every guest is different. So I always learn at least one thing from every guest. So what I learned from the conversation that we just had was staying true to yourself, always being positive. Everybody is equal. Everybody is the same, and we all have our challenges in life, whether we can see them or we don't see them. There isn't an ultimate human being with the perfect DNA. Life isn't meant to be perfect. So those are some takeaways that I learned from our conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for that, because I do appreciate it. And then I'm helping you and you're helping me, which is really what it's all about, as far as I'm concerned, is just lend a helping hand when you can and just have fun with life, because you only got one shot at it. So
exactly. And you always know when the chemistry was good between the person you were talking to, and you can relate in different ways to different experiences and perspectives, because you often end the episode, or at least I am, smiling inside and feeling really good.
exactly. And that's just it. It's what it's all about, right?
It's the Tea with Mike show.